I ask this time for any public comment. Anyone on the call-in line? Yep. We'll move down to consent agenda. I ask for take action on that.
Judge, there's one item number 8. I would probably like to pull that down into the general business today. It's just worded wrong and some dollar amounts are incorrect. We need to probably correct them for the record.
Okay, we can, you know, if you want to correct it, that can be done.
All right.
Unless it needs further discussion.
Well, the court order amendment probably needs more discussion because
Okay, we'll pull it down.
the court order is not exactly what the money was spent on, so.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
On 11, I just will make sure that 5,000 amount's good. There's oftentimes in these projects, things come up that we need to move quickly on. I felt 5,000 was a good cutoff.
And it's currently 1,000?
Currently, you can spend, any one of us can spend 1,000.
Right.
But on a project of this nature, there are often things that come up that unforeseen.
I just have a question then. If you change that to 5,000, will the ticket will come through on the consent agenda just like normal,
It still
right?
comes through, yeah. And
All right.
it comes back to Commissioner's Court. It's just like on the LEC, I have 25,000, but it's brought to Commissioner's Court that same week.
Okay.
But a good instance, this week when I was walking the elevator project, they had pulled ceiling tiles in the stairwell, and I asked about installing new lighting within the stairwell, because there's no lighting, they're just lighting at the landings. That adds a little money to the overall project, and I still haven't got the quote back for it, but it'll add money. But that's an example of how these projects move and discover things that we didn't know that needed to be done or whatever.
Okay.
5,000. Okay.
I make a motion we accept the consent agenda with pulling item 8 down.
Second. Jeff, microphone?
You're not called on. No, yeah, no. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the consent with moving item 8 down to general business. Any other comment or question on consent agenda? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Okay, item number 8 is motion to discuss, consider, take action to amend court order number 20.1116.832 to adjust the amount of sign-on enterprises quote of $1,960 and to file sign-on enterprise invoice number 7357 for $2,450 for reflecting vinyl lettering for Constable Precinct 2 vehicle to be paid from general fund contingencies for specific lines determined by the county auditor. Commissioner Finkamp.
Okay. When I saw this, I was trying to figure out why there was a difference, so I went back and I checked with the auditor office and with Sign-On and Burke. That original court order, I believe that court order pertains to uniforms and decals for one vehicle for Precinct 2. The receipt came through as 5 vehicles done for assorted precincts, so it's not. You had Precinct 1 had 3 vehicles re-decaled. You had Precinct 3 had one vehicle decaled, and Precinct 2 1. And that's what that invoice is for. But the original court order that it was signed to shows to be for uniforms and decals on one vehicle. So it's not really. It's involving 3 different precincts. That's not what the deal here says. And the majority of it's Precinct 1. My question is, I don't quite understand why it's coming out of general fund contingencies. Also, after talking to the auditor's office, it seems it would come out of each one's budget instead of just taking it out of general fund out of Precinct 2.
I think that was followed on because when we started trying to get that done before they came into office. There wasn't money budgeted. There really particularly wasn't, there's money in there simply because it hadn't been used yet. But neither place nor in 2020 nor in '21 was there anything budgeted specifically for decaling, changing those cars. I don't think we added anything in for that.
Okay.
And
And either way, whichever way you're gonna do it, I'm just saying the original court order showed money to be spent for this, and it was actually being spent for this, so I didn't think we should approve it till we address it. But I think it does need to be broken down into which dollar amounts went to what precincts, instead of just,
if we modified this to say it was money spent in Constable Precincts 1, 3, and 4.
it's 1, 2, and 3.
So there was 3 in 1? 3 vehicles for
Yeah.
one? The black Tahoe already,
They re-decaled 3 of them, but, and I talked to the auditor's office this morning, and they said that precinct 1, I think, does have money in their budget for this type of thing, but either way, my question is, if you have money in your budget as a precinct, then I think you should spend your money instead of you just tapping into the general fund automatically.
And I
So-
think carryover was from
Right.
before to now, and that's fine.
But I do think
How much was
it-
the total amount, Mickey, in the original quarter?
Precinct 1 spent $1,470, precinct 2, $490, precinct 3, $490.
But
So it's
that don't
not,
include uniforms,
no.
only.
That's all on the receipt invoice, that's from sign-on, it's just for lettering.
Don't we have 2 vehicles in precinct 2?
Yes, one's decaled and one's not, from what Mr. Burchett said in
We're
the,
gonna leave it that
It's
way.
gonna say
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
I think they also, those precincts switched vehicles, which is why precinct 1 had to re-decal one of those.
They
one of the-
swapped.
They did.
they swapped the Sheriff's Department Tahoe with another Sheriff's Department Tahoe that I believe had Sheriff's Department logos on it. But either way, I just want to make sure that we're spending the money where we say we're spending the money.
Why not have it, with revised, they have to have it, the lines assigned by the county auditor out of their budgets or as needed for general fund.
That's fine. And I'd just like to break them down with those dollar amounts per each one. That'd be all right?
And the minutes will come back reflecting that.
Okay. Nancy, did you have those dollar amounts for the,
Thank you.
okay.
1470 to precinct 1, 490 to precinct 2, and 490 to precinct
3, yes.
with proceeds from each department as needed or
Right.
as required, or as available, rather.
Yeah, because if they don't have it, it's going to end up coming out of general fund, I'm assuming anyway, so, but it should come out of theirs first, and if not, then it'll come out of general fund. You agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'd make a motion that it go ahead and pass with those changes on.
Second.
I have a question. So will all that equal 2450?
That's what the invoice showed.
2450.
2450, yes.
Okay.
And when I spoke to Rodney, he said that the badges and uniforms were delayed just because of the very slow and the processes right now. So he didn't know when to expect. The orders are in, but had no indication.
We are voting for first.
Yes.
All right, so the motion was ready to change it to, the expenses would be broken down per precinct, and taken from within their budgets or general fund contingency as determined by the county auditors.
That's correct.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Okay, item number 1 on General business is review and approve the regular bills for payment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments or questions on the bills? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Item 2 is a presentation by the county auditor of the outside audit selection from the RFP panel to be voted on by the court and allow the county judge to sign the contract. Ms. Jones?
So last Thursday, the RFP panel met for about an hour and a half. The panel members all had prior review possibility of the proposals, and were able to score them based on the following criteria: experience, references and recommendations, audit strategy, and proposed price. After all the scores have gone through and we did a lengthy discussion, the panel ranked the four in order of BKD, CPAs and Advisors, First Watson and Company, LLP, Conley and Company, LLP, and then MWH Group. The panel has decided that the best firm for Wichita County would be BKD, CPAs and Advisors, and we would like the court to approve them as the new outside auditors and grant the authority to Judge Gossam to sign the contract when it's available.
And any of our issues worked out, Cheryl and Tracy, they were all fine, okay. Well, I'll make that motion that we move forward with BKD.
Second.
Any other comments?
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
What kind of, and I don't have it here, but what kind of price tag was on there?
Around 55,000.
Around 55?
That is within, that is less than we paid for WH last year, so we're right with where we've been spending.
And they've never been involved here before?
They have never been involved here before, but all of their clientele, they've got exciting financials, they're timely, they win the GFOA Award for Excellence, which is something we have never done, and it's been a goal of mine when I was appointed to take over. I want to get that award for us. So I really think that they also know our software that we are converting to, so lots of good things from that firm to help us grow and get better.
Do they know some of our current problems with our softwares? I'm assuming.
They may,
Okay,
yeah.
that's something to look at. If you're auditing the deal, those problems play a factor in it, I would
Right,
assume.
and an outside auditor group is meant to help us with that.
Right.
Give us suggestions and solutions on how to make that better, so.
And Mickey, this was the only group that really talked about their technical abilities or how they implemented technology into the audit process. It just seemed new edge, above and beyond what we were used to. And they do some very, very large cities, and their audits have been of great magnitude, so.
All right, good deal. All right.
Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Watts, a second by Commissioner Muller to approve the BKD as the firm to do the outside audit for 2020 timeframe. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you for all your work on that. Get that out. Back in. Is there something else that we have, we were gonna ask Ms. Jones about, you wanted to get behind it?
I'll be here through the meeting, so it's okay.
Yeah, what I was thinking might be something on the grant, I was looking for that.
Well, I just want to reiterate what the judge said. Cheryl, appreciate, y'all put an RFP together, a great one, in a short period of time and got it out to everyone, fielded those questions, so we appreciate being very proactive with that.
Thank you.
On this company, the thing I thought was interesting, they do offer things beyond, I'm sure there are price tags on, but the comments that on the evaluation thing was they were very proactive with the client without always trying to add to the cost of what they're doing. So,
Yeah, I asked them a random question about the software that one of their clients uses to prepare their financials, and I got an answer back within less than 5 minutes.
and were they the ones that, no, they weren't the ones that did, that we didn't have on our list. They
Yeah.
were on there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. The only thing I was wanting to know if you all had anything you wanted to ask her before she left under the staff item, about the grant, or you can do that later. Okay, thank you. So if you all get everything, you're welcome to say, obviously. Okay. Item number 3 is discuss, consider, take action on the renewal of Viper antivirus licensing from SHI for a period of 1 year at a cost of $6,400, or 3 years at a cost of $16,455, to be paid from 412.100.3151 Computer Software Alliance, determined by the county auditor. Mr. Crutchfield, did you have any input on that?
Well, the 3 year shows a little bit of a savings, if y'all would like to do that. I had stopped doing that because of the, what to me, the novice, had become a accounting nightmare. So far as, I never understood why you had to budget real money for something that already been paid for over a time span, so I don't know how the new auditor is going to want me to do that. It's gonna be simpler for me, then the 3 years is gonna save us a little bit of money. If it's gonna be the same, you know, then I recommend the 1 year, because that just makes it, the accounting much more simple.
Ms. Jones, did you follow what he was saying?
Yes, the accounting is simpler to do it 1 year, but I think to the savings, our office can manage to do the
It's
accounting.
$2,700.
Yeah, that's
That's-
considerable.
Yes.
I have a odd question about that. For that technology, does it, if you're renewing it every year, is there going to be different technology within a year? Because, you know, most computer software technology,
That's our,
is it going to change over 3 years where we're not going to have as good a system?
we'll get the updates.
Okay.
That's what this is for, is to
Okay.
provide updates for the software. That's our antivirus software that we run here on
So they're continually updating that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So anytime a new thread is out there, they will hit us with a new download?
the, yes, sir.
Yeah, so 3 years is much,
Yeah.
any
I-
savings we can get.
I'd make the motion to approve the 3 year at
I'll
16,450.
second that.
One more question,
Yeah.
but anyway, Judge, if I could,
Yes, sir.
is that our only antivirus, or is that one of many, or?
Well, it's our only antivirus. If you install multiple antiviruses on the same machine, they have a tendency to think the other one is a virus.
Is that-
They fight each other, and it's a nightmare. So one antivirus on, the computers, and the servers. The Exchange server does run multiple, because there's a certain package that checks email incoming and outgoing. Barracuda spam firewall checks email incoming and outgoing. And then we have some cloud services from Cisco. And with all of that, we still get hit, so,
Sure.
you know, and I'm sure.
I was curious, it seems like we see a lot of software, you know, annual fees and all that, I was just wondering what, that's what it was. So I guess you'd say this is the main one, maybe, that,
For the network, the computers on the network, absolutely, yes, sir.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mark, I didn't
No,
mean
it's
to
fine.
step on.
No,
Motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Finnegan to approve the item as presented for 3 years purchase of that. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0.
Judge, and thanks to the auditor's staff for working that out for that $2,700 savings, that's important. Not the easiest way, but financially the best way, so that's good. Appreciate that consideration.
Commissioner Holland,
Yeah,
your microphone isn't on.
oh, okay. I'll yell. For the hearing, no, that was no.
Okay, item 4, discuss, consider, take action on 1 of 3 quotes for replacement of the HVAC unit in the juvenile detention office to be paid from general fund contingencies to lines determined by the county auditor. Mr. Beecham,
Yeah, I have 3 different quotes here, one from James Lane for $85.50, one from Texoma for $95.72, and one from Trinity for $10,722. So I would make the motion to accept the James Lane quote at $85.50.
Second.
Okay, question, how come, is there not money in that building, fund for that, or?
I can look or have auditor's office look. This is,
Where should it be? 521, should be money in 521.
Yeah, I would think we would take it there
the
first,
put
and then,
one first and the balance
Yeah.
come from contingencies. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You said that's 521?
so the motion would be to, pay for it from Fund 521, and select James Lane, with a quote of $8,550.
Correct.
And that motion was by Commissioner Beecham, and seconded by Commissioner Watts, so, yeah. Any other comments, questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carried 5-0. Item 5, receive monthly investment report from Bob Hampton, County Treasurer.
I think that's me.
Yes, sir.
It'll be all good news.
Well, you gentlemen had a chance to look over your financials that I dropped off to you today. And if this goes good, this gentleman right here said I'd get a pair of boots just like his. So I'm motivated to do the best I can. Your little folder there, if you're looking at the end of February, of course, this is a snapshot of all the different funds, and of course, the general fund, though, pertains in my mind to you guys directly, as well as your precinct funds. So with the general fund, we're closed out at $57,846,971.57. Trailing 12 months, last February, we closed out at $53,632,694.97, which is the good news is it's an 8% increase from where we were 12 months ago. But what makes it really helpful in my office is working with our auditor and her staff. I tell you, this is a great relationship, and she's made me very much aware. We owe a lot of money, guys, and so we're going to be cutting into our reserves this year. So always keep that in mind. And I put that deal from the federal chairman in your file just so you'll have it. My job is to keep you aware of where we are, I think, economically across the nation, because I read on it all the time. I know many of you do. But of course, our Fed chairman is Jerome Powell. And just a couple of highlights from that handout that I gave you. That fourth paragraph, he says, Chairman Powell's remarks suggest that the Fed is not eager to change its stance on easy money in the near future after slashing interest rates to a target range of really zero. In the depths of the pandemic, the Fed has absorbed trillions of dollars in U.S. Treasuries and agency mortgage-backed securities. Keeping in mind, China owns the majority of our treasuries. So it gives you, that should absolutely make our hair stand on end. Then skipping down to the last paragraph, it says, Powell said that the central bank is maintaining an aggressive level of accommodation to the economy with the goal of pulling as many workers back into jobs. Interesting comment from losing the pipeline. With the headline unemployment rate right now at 6.3%, not sure where he got that, but Powell said a decrease to even 4% would not be enough to convince the Fed to pull back its support. And then skipping on down further, it says the surge in long-term bond yields, thus long-term interest rates, have been a major focus for investors worried about whether or not unprecedented stimulus from the Biden administration will drive inflation quicker than the Fed expects. And I don't know what they expect, but let me tell you, in January, oil was selling for $47.35 a barrel. It closed Friday at $66.31. That's a 40% increase in 3 months. And you say, well, what is that? That doesn't impact me. I'm not in the oil business. Oh, yes, we are. In January, I filled up with gas. This is a personal testimony, so you know me. I wouldn't exaggerate about anything. I filled up with gas out here at Murphy's at Walmart at $1.82. Yesterday, I filled up out here at Murphy's out here on the highway 44 at $2.42. That's a 33% increase in less than 90 days.
Basically 50 cents, isn't it?
It's 60 cents.
60 cents, that's
Yeah.
right.
So that's where we are, and Powell said Thursday that the movement in bond markets caught his attention, but said it would take signs of disorderly conditions or a persistent tightening in financial conditions for the Fed to react. So where I'm going with this is the fact that, guys, Wichita County is not going to be relying on anybody but you guys and all of us working together. And working together is the key to this whole deal. I got a good friend of mine who sells boots in Colorado sent me a deal Friday, and he said, I was thinking about you when I ran across this. It says, history is not there for you to like or dislike. It is there for you to learn from it. And if it offends you, even better, because then you are less likely to repeat it. It's not yours to erase. It belongs to all of us. And you say, well, what has that got to do with financials?
Everything.
Exactly. 1931, of course, the crash was in December of 29. But boy, prior to that time, everybody was whistling Dixie. Oh, I'm sorry. They were whistling further along, and no problems. And so we just got to be very, very mindful of where we are and spend as little as we possibly can for the next, I'll tell you, another 12 months would be probably my suggestion. We're closing out our bond with our jail fund. You'll notice there we spent $64,948,954.54 as of the end of February. We're going to send a wire out today, $1.3 million. And so we're slowly but surely drawing the curtain close on that.
Yeah.
We've made, in my office, ladies working hard, and we're behind, as the auditor told me. We got to catch up for this new audit bunch is coming in. And so they are working very diligently, stayed here till 6:30 Friday night to catch up. So I'm very proud of them. We had a fouled up, I know this is going to shock you, our TSG fouled up and we couldn't print anything, and I got with George, and George went in and got after it and got us back on track, and it's all that mysterious, whatever it is through the air, you know, that old guys like me have no idea, but it's it takes teamwork to keep everything rolling nowadays.
Bob, did you have an ideal of what any projection as to what you think we could erode the fund balance on this year? I mean, you made mention early that you felt like we would be getting into our fund balance some. Do you have a projection on that, or?
Fund
A
balance,
thought.
Commissioner, tell me what.
Well, of that
Reserves.
57.
Oh, reserves?
Reserve.
Yeah. Well, I'll get with the auditor on that and give you a pretty good projection. That's about all we can.
I'd say it depends on
We
how much fallout's in the budget.
Well, you know, that's gonna be that, and we know what our numbers, we try to base, you know, we've been unfortunate on the way the sheriff's department has managed the jail.
Yeah.
And so we've had some, due to lower occupancy there, we've had some lesser, there's still, because of turnover in personnel, the payroll is still running longer, but it's not running as if we were trying to take care of 450 or more prisoners, we're caring for less than 400, so that cuts costs there to some extent. The other thing you said, though, is we've got debt that, I think that's what I heard, that we don't have funded.
No, I said we had long-term debt. Judge, everything's funded,
Oh, okay, I was
but
gonna say.
we owe a lot of money, I think is actually what
We
I said.
do, but all
Yeah,
that
spend-
money right now
Spend that
is,
record back, I didn't mention. Okay.
all that we owe right now is set up to be paid.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so it's not like all of a
But
sudden we're
we're-
gonna have to add 2 cents to the taxes to.
No,
take
no,
care-
It's
we're
not
gonna add
outside,
anything,
it's
but
not
we're-
outside the budget.
My
Yeah,
point is, we're
right.
cutting into our reserves this year. As,
And I think any year we're
Well,
cutting into
we-
reserves, you can't put money back into reserves. So
that's
we need
my,
to, we
yeah,
need to
that's
think
my
about
job
that.
is to tell you, here we are.
Okay,
and we're
So,
just-
so our budget's larger than our intake.
But it always is.
Well, yeah, I agree, and that, once again, it gets back to what your fallout is.
But,
Sometimes it can be pretty substantial, sometimes not so much, and we've seen both.
you know, generally speaking, we've stayed now, and I appreciate what you said about watching what we're spending, but we've got some projects this year, and what I'm looking at for next year, we will probably have to add a penny to the permanent improvement fund, a taxation, just continue supporting those projects to get them through and paid for. So I see that, and I'm also looking at a penny, to offer the court that we will do some salary increases, for those that haven't received these significant adjustments, which is not a whole lot of people, but we take out some and, you know, looking at, something along the line of $1,200 a person, and setting, after we talk about it, setting some sort of minimum, but let the department take, let's just throw out this, out of that 1,200, we guarantee everybody a $1,000 raise, but the department head can take, they've got 5 people, they can redivide that extra 200 how they want to among those. They do that. But it's time for us to do some sort of raise across the board. And do that.
I don't disagree with that, Judge. There's a lot of people though that listen to this and take notes, and people say, well, with all that money, Hampton, why aren't you making more investment income? Well, people need to know that old Bob just doesn't go out here and invest in Chinese offshore drilling. We are prescribed by law on what we can and cannot do.
Yes, sir.
And these treasuries and government agencies is our main focus. And right now, the 10-year treasury, thanks to the Fed, is 1.47. 10-year money at less than 1.5. So we, as you can see by our portfolio, our investment picture as far as government agencies is just about come
It's
to
eaten up by
nothing.
inflation.
But luckily, we're dealing with local banks here that understand our situation and have been very helpful in trying to, you know, so I brag on them. Yeah.
But when it was
Teamwork again, you know.
No, but you did a great job of investing that 70 million.
Oh, look at what it
Yeah.
made, Bob.
Yeah.
Great job.
Yeah.
Well, you're trying to
Saved the
say
day
that.
on that project.
Do
Really.
what?
It saved the day on
Oh,
that project.
absolutely.
those little things that we had to go in and adjust where we were able to do because that was there.
I think that wing, that pod we added back, you should probably have the name Bob Hampton.
I do too.
Well,
The Bob Hampton
Hampton
cell
Hilton.
block. Bob Hampton cell block, I think
No, it's
that's.
a Hampton Hilton.
Hampton Hilton.
I was saying more like a Willie Wall, it kind of flows
Yeah.
more than.
Judge,
With a
if I
big-
could, I think there's been several things said here that are really important. And I don't have the scope of vision of what Chairman Powell has. He has a lot more at his disclosure, but I'm a finance and money guy. What I'm interested in, I love to talk about money. I call BS on a bunch of this.
You bet.
I'm telling you, if you don't think we're not about to go through one of the biggest inflation rates, you're not paying attention.
We're
It's
already
already
there,
here.
Commissioner, that's
We
what.
are
We are there.
printing money and putting it in the economy, which is absolutely the main driver of inflation. Let me tell you what happened in my world last week, Bob. You mentioned the gas. I had pegged it at 50 cents, 60 is what you found.
Yes, sir.
Saying no, here's what I saw last week. In less than 10 days' time, nitrogen fertilizer went from $220 a ton to $380 a ton
Oh, see, that's.
coming out of the same tank. Now, I say that not because we buy a bunch of nitrogen fertilizer, but those two commodities, fuel, fertilizer, those things, revolve in the heavy mechanical work that we do in our precincts.
Yes, sir.
Buying supplies and things to go out here and do the job we do. We are seeing tremendous inflation in those areas of the economy. And how anybody can sit there and say, we just don't see inflation being a problem. He didn't study economics, or I did. I'm sorry, I think that's a political play and not real life, and I'm sorry,
You're seeing it, I mean,
You're
it
seeing
affects
it.
everybody.
It's out
I'll
there.
give you my example.
Yeah.
Kids wanted hot dogs the other day, see them sitting in the grocery store.
yeah,
Package of hot dogs, $3.96.
Yeah.
Walked over to the bun aisle, package of hot dog buns, $3.85. $8 for
yeah.
hot dogs.
I mean, I
Well,
think
here's the
we're all
deal.
experiencing it, it worries me, I think it's gonna eat us. And what does
Cheapest
that
food
do
you
to
can
our
buy,
budget?
yeah.
That kills our budget.
It,
We get to the end of the year, we've done the things we budgeted to do, and it costs 10 or 15% more to do them than what we decided. That's not good.
It's,
well, my minor in Midwestern was economics and supply and demand. I'm not sure what these people do, but supply and demand is the dictating force. And my gosh,
Always
the
has.
news all weekend, I'm watching Fox News, and they're saying, well, the American people are so complacent, so apathetic. You know, they don't, my God, I'm not apathetic. And the people I hang out with aren't apathetic. What can we do, though? We send those knuckleheads up to Washington to make hard decisions, and they don't do much for us. And I'm telling you, we need to start talking about term limits, and we need to start talking about it seriously.
Well, the other thing that comes into
So
focus,
I
Bob,
bet you're thinking, how this.
that I'm really concerned about, if you're retirement age and you've done a really good job of putting things together for retirement, these low interest rates are gonna eat you.
Yep.
We've got people digging into the principle
Yes, sir.
to maintain what they thought was gonna be their lifestyle off of the interest of their investment. It's not happening. I worry about our folks that are retired and approaching retirement who did nothing wrong. They did their planning, they did their work. This inflation could eat them. I mean, eat them alive. It's terrible what we're doing to our senior citizens.
My job is to let you have some food for thought, so it looks like you're chawing down.
We can't afford the food.
Or issuing a lot of debt and supposedly giving that money to Americans, but a lot of it's going offshore, and that's compounding the problem.
Well, most Americans don't realize the Chinese own most of our treasuries. That should absolutely, because you don't hear anything on the news,
Yeah.
and so that's,
Adolf Hitler ran the printing presses too. And you go back and look and see what happened there. Wheelbarrow full of
any other.
Dutch marks to buy a loaf of bread and that kind of stuff. It's, yeah, you're right about the historical comment. It's important.
Questions?
Thanks, sir.
Other than that, everything looks good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bob.
Item six, discuss, consider, and take action on county building and facilities COVID-19 practices, masking, social distancing, hand washing, et cetera. I met this morning with the 2 county court of law judges and the 3 district judges, and what we have seen the governor's order, which says as of 12:01 Wednesday, he's no longer requiring masks. His does allow each entity, business, whoever can adopt their own masking policy. I asked the judges because a document you all don't receive comes from the Office of Court Administration. And it allows that the administrative judge through the administrative board of judges, which is made up of the 6 of us, they don't see they're gonna change anything. So all buildings with a courtroom in them will continue the same requirements we have now.
Does that include the JPs as well?
Yes.
So we'll temp in and do what we're doing, that
Yeah.
whole process.
Yeah. So that'll apply across there. What we have to do is decide what we want to do about all other buildings. But that will also cover juveniles, since there's a courtroom in there. It will cover JJAEP because that's operated under school district rules, and they're continuing masking. So it's really precinct farms and the annex.
Well, I have a courtroom at precinct 4.
That's what I, yeah, well, I'm sorry, I meant the 2 that are separate then. Yeah. And really yours is, your offices are separate from, so 3 of the 4 of them. But I really suggest that we keep it uniform across the county. And then people don't have to wonder, will I wear a mask to that building or not, and what, and, you know. That order with the courts, unless it's changed by the Supreme Court through the Office of Court Administration, they're looking at that staying until at least the 1st of June. And so that's, but we do have, I've gone through it, and Jeannie, unless you read any different, I believe we have the ability to do that like any other business does. We've noticed that some of our major retailers are continuing, their employees will wear masks. I'm not sure any of them have said their customers have to wear masks in there. I think they prefer it, but they're not required. You want the audience to make a voice on this? Yes, sir.
Why can't we do it the same way, Judge? If you wanna wear a mask, wear one. If you don't, don't. Because if you believe your mask works, why does it matter that I don't have one on?
And I kind of agree with George on that. I'm more of a personal preference type person on that, but there again.
Well, if you work inside this building, you're gonna come in with a mask on, period. That's not in the commissioner's court for
Right.
change that. That order says the whole.
That due to the courtroom,
Any building
Yeah.
with a courtroom in it underneath that, everyone will have a mask on inside the building unless they're sitting at their desk.
Does it address temperature checks?
It says continue to practice all of those good habits.
Was that from our local judge board, or is that from the state,
The state gives them the permission to do it.
or not do it?
No, it's mandating that they do it, right?
No, the local judicial board decides it.
Oh,
The administrative board of judges, but, the feeling was this morning, they're gonna keep that in, they want that to stay intact until the 1st of June. Then they'll review it prior to that. And the administrative judge for the county has the overarching deal with all the courts and those kind of policies.
well, for the 1st of June, we'll know what the trend is.
Yeah. We'll know whether there's been actually, we already know before then what the thing is. What else we've got as well.
I already know what to do with.
we do need to make a motion that either it's a countywide, all county buildings, or we separate out the ones that's not.
Is it part of currently our COVID policy? Are these things in there?
Yes, sir.
So really and truly, Judge, the list of county buildings that don't have a courtroom is really pretty short.
The annex,
Jail
Annex.
annex, LEC.
Well, the annex has 10 court, so
Mm.
that
Well,
count?
That's.
Yeah, I mean, precinct 3 barn doesn't have one. You don't have
I
one,
don't
Mark,
have one.
precinct 1.
I'm just saying, friends, look at the number of people we paid to be off for COVID exposure or COVID, and we're gonna let down a little bit right now, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, of course, that didn't happen in the precinct barn so much. We didn't have many out. Yeah, I don't know, Judge. This is one of those decisions where whatever you do, you're gonna be wrong. You know, just like the governor is when he makes a, you know, if you do nothing, it's not enough, and if you do anything, it's too much. It's just the nature of the beast.
But we need to make a decision today, because the other's gonna take place, and we need, I can't stress enough, I think you need to have one policy for county buildings. I think people, whether masking or not. I talked to Commissioner Beecham, we're gonna continue to have masks available for those people that show up. You know, to me, they say, well, I've gotta go get a marriage license, is not the same as here's my deal saying I'm supposed to be in county court law number 2 at 10 o'clock, and it's 9:45. Okay, we're gonna hand you a mask and send you up, because we don't need to miss that court date. But, well, I'll do that, I'll make the motion that we continue the policy we have in all county buildings, personnel entering in those or working in those will follow the guidelines in place, and masks will be required, or you're not admitted.
Okay. I'll second the motion.
Any other discussion?
Well, once again, that's automatically true in about 75% of
Yeah.
the buildings anyway, so we're only talking about the
A couple.
token amount.
What about the temperature checks, suspending those? It's showing now that COVID doesn't always come with a fever, so I don't know that we're doing that much good with temperature checks.
is the temperature check's gonna, you do the temperature check at the same time you do your facial recognition, right?
Yeah.
So just, you're wanting to quit using that
No,
tool?
no,
Well-
we still have that to get into the annex building when it's completed. That'll still be part of getting into the annex building.
We don't have it tied in yet to,
Right.
It's not completely active yet. We had an agenda item a couple weeks back to approve hooking all that in, so.
Well, to me, the temp check's not near as invasive as being told you gotta wear a mask. I mean, to me, that's not the,
Right.
Well, it just takes staff.
yeah, well, that's
Well-
true.
but we'll still ask the questions when someone comes in new. I mean, I hear that every time I come through, that they're inquiring of someone they don't
If they're
know.
coming into a courts building, that's part of the procedure. I'd say if we leave things like they are, then there's not confusion.
Okay.
That's the motion, isn't it, Judge?
Yes, sir. Y'all ready to take a vote on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Seven, 4, 1 then.
Yes.
Hey, item 7 is receive an update on the law enforcement center project. Mr. Beecham.
Well, our boat docked in Port of Los Angeles, so we got our grades.
Yay.
That's the big thing that happened this week. We had a good meeting with the city on road repairs. We're getting the final estimates and documents as to how to proceed on repairing Sprague. We did talk about some repairs to production. I've got estimates coming for that as well. The city's long-term plan on production is still to widen and replace that whole roadway, so.
Is there easement there to widen it, Mark?
That would be a question to ask the city of St. Paul. I think there is, but I didn't ask that specific question. So, other than that, we're slowly but surely winding that project down. If you walk through it now, all the ceiling tiles are in place everywhere. It's just finishing now. We're still on target to have substantial completion by the end of April, and then start testing balance, or finish testing balance, and then have the jail commission in sometime by mid-May, I would assume.
Had an interesting request from Jim Rasmussen, but I think it really applies to the defense bar. Wanted to know what kind of interview thing, how much more versatile and responsive it will be out there
For,
for attorneys to visit with their clients.
well, we have that whole section set up just for attorney-client visitation,
Right.
so it's really easy, accessible off the main lobby. It should be way better than what they have now.
That's what I told them, but they want to see what way
Oh.
better is.
Oh, yeah, anytime they're ready,
So,
I will make time to,
and I don't know if they need to go through the jail side, they need to see that part of
oh,
it.
yeah, absolutely.
But I think that would be helpful if they knew what was happening there.
Plus, they'll have the ability to do it remotely through the pads. The pads that GTL has provided.
How will they separate the attorney-client privilege?
That's a question for GTL, so.
I'm just saying, if that opportunity, we need to ask
Yep.
that, call her and ask about how to do that. They do it on the telephone, we separate it on the
Yeah.
telephone. But generally, their problem is that the information exchange between they and their attorney is when they and their friends talk, you know.
Plus, we'll have Polycom ability
Yes.
as well, so.
Anything else, sir?
No, just real quick on the elevator project, that's going well. They have all the elevator tore out. The shaft, they're working on patching holes and widening the openings for the new elevator doors. They got the storefront tore off, the stairwell is tore down. They're moving quickly over there.
And so people still enter through Sixth Street?
6th Street only.
Okay.
And got a lot going on right there at that entrance right now with Indigent Health. It's closed today because we're getting the new flooring put in. Closed today and tomorrow.
Do they go around, Mark? They don't come through the tax office? Most indigent come around the building, or?
No, they're right there at the entrance, so, yeah.
Oh, I thought we were coming all in off of Sixth Street.
No, nothing's coming, I'm sorry. I said they're all coming in the main entrance now.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm sorry. I
Okay.
said that,
Yeah.
they're all coming in the main entrance right now.
Okay.
But Mark, that's gonna be a huge improvement once that's done. I mean,
Yeah.
we've needed that for a long time.
Now that they've got everything tore out,
Yeah,
we're gonna be able to raise the ceilings, tear down that ramp, floor ramp,
yeah.
open that up.
That has been a bottleneck.
What, that floor ramp, did we ever discover why that floor ramp is there?
I looked at some older plans. I believe that was always an elevator shaft there, but that ramp was put in the 80s, from what I can tell, over the top of the
A
existing
bigger
floor.
shaft, a
Yeah.
bigger shaft?
I think it was to raise it up, so the new elevator that they put in at the time would have, be able
Level
to
up.
feed, be able to seat in there. That's one of the problems, we had to lower the shaft because you couldn't get the cart all the way down with the hydraulic cylinder. So that's my assumption, that they built it up instead of digging down.
It's not a case where the young lady was cutting the end off the Christmas ham and her family had done it for 3 generations and finally her great-grandmother told her, the reason was I didn't have a big enough pot.
That's kind of what it, yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of
You
doing
know-
it the way it's supposed to have been done, they took the cheap
You'd
way
be
out.
surprised in our society how many things are done that way.
Sure.
And we don't know why, we've just always done it that way. Yeah, we didn't have a big enough pot, so.
Nancy, we probably ought to add an item that would elevator update briefing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ham cooking tips.
Hand cooking tips.
Yeah, put that on.
And Mark, how did you get under when the elevator's seated on that bottom floor, right outside Tommy's, then how were you ever able to access underneath that? Is there
You had to raise the elevator up and then get under it.
and then go in that way, right? There's not a escape
not a-
hatch
no.
underneath there?
No
or
access
anything?
door or anything.
No, there won't be when this is complete.
So when the elevator's up, you open the doors, go down in.
Yeah, you turn
Stick a
it off.
screwdriver in underneath.
What is the distance right now between,
About 4 feet.
okay.
It'll be deeper than that when the new pit's done.
Which is the way it should have been done.
Yeah, it's nearest my guess is that it was easier to put the ramp in than
Then
to dig the
make
pit
the
out,
pit.
so.
All right, anything else on that?
No.
All right, thank you, sir. Item 8 is discuss, consider, or take action on any disaster-related issues in the council. I don't know of anything else that we've had to modify that order. I think we're moving along. I've asked the leaver going this week to get with Chris in the auditor's office and try to make sure we've gone through and we've got everything we think accounted for from COVID and then the disaster, and that we, have submitted or can submit, those things.
Judge, is there any provision in there for landscape damage?
That's a
I'm
good
beginning
question.
to get the feeling it's gonna be huge.
Well, I think, we've notified our insurer that we will have damage, whether we exceed the deductible or not, but you start adding in the landscape damage and all that.
After looking yesterday, I think we're hurt worse than we thought we were. I think we're gonna lose some trees, we're gonna lose a bunch of shrubs. And I
General
mean,
public, yeah.
oh yeah,
Can
when you think about a shrub deal around a moderate-sized house, it's $4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, and
I know I've
it's,
lost all of mine, they're dead.
I did not feel good after looking yesterday.
Yesterday didn't look good, I agree.
It's hurt.
I'm wondering about some of the big trees.
I am too. I'm very, very afraid. We had some budded out, which is not good to go to below 0. So I'm just saying, I don't know if that's part of the consideration. It's gonna be at the expense for the county to go in and have to redo some stuff around our buildings and all, and in the general public's where we're gonna really get hit.
Yeah, I think,
They gotta look
Like
at their
80,
insurance
was it
company.
83? We went through that and lost so much of our landscape.
I think most everything at the LEC's dead,
Yeah,
but that's still under warranty, so.
yeah. It's worse than I thought.
Did we ever get reimbursed on the COVID expenses out of the LEC that, and then if we did, then do we need to reimburse Yates or not? I don't know if that came back. We had some equipment out there for people, for the workers, we checked their food, they had to sanitize, they had to have a temperature check, and it was a large self-contained device that was out there that, because it was outdoors, it was a little more elaborate
question for
waiting
Chris.
on some of that from Chris on whether or not some of the COVID expenses have been approved. I know a lot of it's been submitted, but the approval process is
Yeah.
kind of slow. But we can check with Chris and see where we're at with that.
This is just kind of, maybe just think of this, last Thursday at the ranking and scoring, meeting for Homeland Security, Diane Morgan, who works with the Area Agency on Aging Group, said they've received a grant which can help people with rent deposits, rent, utility bills. So if you know of people in need and they're not getting it anywhere else, that really ought to be looked at first before we take community donated dollars. We ought to have people look and see if that, but if they'll inquire out at Nortex Regional Planning Commission, they will get them lined up and get them the application. But it sounded too good to be true. But if you don't try it, you can't win the lottery unless you get a ticket. And you can't get any of this money unless you fill out the application. Okay, we don't have anything to do to either of those orders.
I just wanted to report, Judge, that we've got, inspector coming Thursday to review the water damage at precinct 4. And like Willie said, at least we'll have well documented,
You know,
costs.
Maybe while they're here, we ought to have them, take a look, but we need to take pictures of those shrubs or whatever. Let's see if he wants to look at anything else that we've had. that we didn't do.
Have we turned in anything else? I mean, I've received several calls from TAC and just pre-planning this, but I think it's all due to the fact that Willie turned in the request for me.
What are the damages we had? A pipe in JJAP, I believe, was over there.
I don't remember one breaking over there. We had some frozen pipes, I don't know that we had anything burst.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to go back with Bob and check through everything.
You said they're coming Thursday.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If we have any of those, we might want to show them over here. To the Jester. And do that. Okay. Okay, we're down to comments. Anyone in the audience? Yes, sir, George.
Thank you, Judge. Friday after our meeting that we had, went down and did some more research and digging on the issues we're having with voice over IP phones out at the LEC.
Yes, sir.
Found some documentation from HP. They recommended that I gave me some other documentation to take a look at. And I wound up making some changes on our switches out there. And knock on wood, the phone stayed up over the weekend. And I called Will, our Chief Rutledge, first thing this morning, and made sure that they were still up. So he had no calls over the weekend. The phones were up out there. I'm not ready to do a victory lap either mentally or physically yet. You know, it's encouraging. So we'll just see how it goes, and if that continues to hold steady, we'll make those same changes throughout the county for voice over IP phones.
Okay.
And then we also, the issue that Mr. Hampton was having with his printer was due to the network storm, not TSG, but, you know, seemed that way, but it was from the network broadcast storm. And those guys plugged into the network out there at the LEC. And we have I may have mentioned this Friday, I've slept since then, we have the rest of the switches in for the LEC, so we'll get those configured and get them out there as soon as we can, so.
Sounds good. A lot better than the alligator farm we had last week.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, Commissioner Beach.
Yeah, I'd just like to shout out to Michael Brown and the folks at the Express Run. last year, I think that was the last big public event that we had before everything got shut down. They were able to put on a successful event and raise a lot of money for the Pets Charity and communities and schools over this past weekend. I would say there was probably on the order of about 200 participants, somewhere around there.
Wow.
Good event. I think
And
they're-
you did good.
we did good.
That's right.
I finished.
There was a lady, or she said she was gonna run in something like an hour and a half, a little less than an hour and a half run, the half marathon.
There were 2 records set. Larry Fowler, Chip Fowler from Hunter and Hill's son, shattered the old record by a lot. And then the female that was coming in to run, she wasn't far behind him, just like a couple of minutes. So.
Wow.
Well, I thought you were gonna tell us Chip did that.
No,
I was gonna say, now, that would be.
I think Larry's time was 1:11 or 1:12, 1:12.
Bob,
Yeah.
Bob.
Yeah.
hang on
I
one
finished
second.
just slightly behind him about an hour later, so,
The girl was 115.
yeah,
She's a new cross-country coach out of
yeah. So they were both flying. I know Larry passed me when I was coming off the dam, so he was already done half and plus some. So I told him he needed to slow down, he was making us all look bad.
Why are you tripping?
Yeah, I'd probably trip myself, he'd just jump right over me if he, he's a gazelle,
Is it?
yeah,
Okay.
so.
Well, that's just what, well, his mother goes,
She did, she participated as well, so, a good event, glad to see finally some live events going, community events like that, so vital to our community and just raising funds for all the different charities out there.
I didn't even know until you made us aware that those type of things go on, and
Yeah.
quite a few of them.
Yeah, again, there's one this weekend downtown, not sure who they support with this one, but I think it's through downtown development, so.
Before Bob left, I just wanted you to comment about your ancestry. I saw that and I thought that was pretty cool, and I know Bob would enjoy that too.
My great, I'll get it right, great grandfather.
Four greats?
Yeah, 4 greats, was a participant in the Siege of Behar. And although I don't have full documents, I believe, through some of the muster rolls, he was also present at the Battle of San Jacinto. But the name's spelled different, but there are very few Joseph Benedict Beechams that are, no matter how you spell it, so.
yeah.
So he does have a marker in Panola County
Oh, wow.
commemorating his participation. in
Yeah,
the
I
Siege
saw
of
the
Behar.
marker that I thought that was pretty cool.
All right. Christopher Finnegan.
I'd just like to take a minute to thank also the auditor's office, George, the IT, for coming to the court, giving us the updates. Believe it or not, to me, it makes a world of difference having y'all here making those updates from any of the departments. Sometimes y'all might think that we're picking on a particular department or talking bad about a department, and we're not. If we don't know what we're talking about at all, I just want to say that I appreciate you coming up here and explaining things to us. It
Helpful.
makes a big difference, Bob's office, any of them. But believe it or not, for me, it makes a lot of difference in being able how to make decisions and which way what needs to be done. So I just wanted to thank y'all for that. As far as our road deal, our grant, our guys are actively shaving roads today, so I don't know if y'all's are. I think we've probably got 3 culverts to put in prior this month to get everything done before we start chip sealing, but it looks like we'll have ours done before the end of the month's over and be ready to go. So, guys are working. That's all I have.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Moss.
Well, it was really my pleasure last week. This time I was in Austin at the legislative session and had to go down and testify for the Senate Finance Committee and the House Appropriations Committee. And it just always helps me to go down there and get a feel for what's going on in that whole process. And I'll have to to say this, the state of Texas is different than just about any other place in the world. We went down there under this COVID deal, and the rules are that everyone would have to test before you went in the Capitol building. Now, wait a minute, that's not true. You go in the Capitol building, you go in a hearing, or any of the offices, you've got to have a COVID test. And we had some of our young, I assume, Judge, that, you know, they were military, so I assume they were there, but they had a triage center set out behind the Capitol, and what a great organized deal. Walk in, take your test, a few minutes, you're got an armband, you go in and take care of business. It just makes you proud that even under tough situations, those National Guardsmen, and once again, Judge, I assume that's who they were.
Yeah.
Boy, it just is organized and straightforward. We don't let things like COVID or anything else just completely stop the wheels turning, but it was business as usual. Things are picking up in the Capitol, the House and Senate, of course, both in session now on a pretty regular basis. Committee hearings going on. We'll know a whole lot more about the budget. Good news is the budget's not as bleak as we thought 4 or 5 months ago. And that's gonna make it a little bit easier, but there are things going on in the state capitol that affect us all, and we all get, I think, caught up sometimes in who's gonna be president, who's gonna be vice president, and all that. Folks, there are too many people that don't even know who their state rep or their state senator is, because they probably have more effect on your day-to-day life than anybody in Washington. So we need to stay aware and need to be involved. It just always helps me to go down there and be around that for a little bit and kind of watch that in motion. Now, the challenge is there are forces in play that would like to keep us out of that process in Austin, and we really need to not let that happen. It just like we like George to come and bring us up to date on what's going on in the IT department, and we bring the auditor's office in to tell us about the money, and Bob Hampton to come in and brief us on our investments. When they're making decisions in the state capitol that affect county government and city government, we need to be involved. I don't want to sit at this table and make a decision on volunteer fire departments without talking to the chiefs. Will it work? Can you function under this deal or not? But there are forces in play to stop that from happening. And I'm proud to say I was down there and talked about county government along with rural Texas and agriculture and soil and water conservation like I always do. And it wasn't on the county's dime. We didn't spend any taxpayer dollars to go do that. And I think that happens a lot. Judge Gossam, how many trips have you made to Austin over the past few years that did not cost the taxpayers of Wichita County 1 penny? You found a way to go and take care of your business in other fashions. But I just want to bring that out, folks. That's not going to go away, and it's going on right now. Be aware that that's on the table, and we certainly don't need to let that happen. That's it, Judge. I'm through politicking, so. But it's vital that we know what's going on.
Barry, did
Yeah.
you pick up on, was there any election reform stuff being
Yes,
talked about?
that's in the stack. Of course, right now, how many bills have been filed? I can't even remember. It's a bunch. And that'll get weeded out through committee. We won't know a whole lot about what the real picture looks like for another probably 30 days. And then it'll begin to, we'll separate the chaff from the deal. But yeah, there's discussion in Texas about changing the voting and doing things differently, just like Lori told us last week. There's a lot of things on the table. We gotta pay attention, guys. Gotta pay attention. It's gonna happen one way or the other. We need to pay attention to what's going on, because it could change the way we do business. Anyway, I'm sorry, enough said.
Commissioner Watkins?
I made mention of the fact that the inspector was coming on Thursday, and hopefully we'll make some progress there. I appreciate Commissioner Fincannon helping me look at that and trying to get our arms around really what we need to do there. And so even though it doesn't look devastating, there could be a fair amount of work involved. So that's coming up. We are in the same process of working those roads as Commissioner Fincannon mentioned, and the getting our ducks in a row to move forward. I did talk to J.B. Klossner, got on the list to have that machine here on the 5th, and as well as setting up the maintenance on the rock box and the distributor. I asked Jack to move the distributor, Mickey, to precinct 2, just so both of those items will be right there together, and it'll be a little easier to dig into when the maintenance
And we
comes.
are servicing the old one, getting it ready. It'll be on standby, so,
Dropbox?
yeah.
Good.
You bet.
And so, they're setting up to do that. He'll let us know when they'll come. We can run water through that. He said that can be a little bit misleading because it's so much thinner. It can tend to drip or leak when, it's not really, emulsion wouldn't do that, but, he said we can still get to where we want to do by running that through there. And I guess we have the ability to fill over by your wash rack. Do you have larger water there? And so that'll be, have those items checked off our list before we get to rolling.
On the maintenance on the rock box, are they gonna try to do any, can they do any, I say computer, electronic maintenance on it? Because
Yes, I
from
told
talking to
him,
y'all, you
I
know.
told him what the problem was
Okay.
and what we were experiencing, and I didn't understand good, and then I called Leon and got him to explain to me in more detail about, I didn't realize we flipped a switch from 3/8 to 5/8. And so that is where something is not
Some kind of sensor,
engaging.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's be different from just regular maintenance, so I didn't know if they had a way to check that.
But they
out.
they are a carrier of that, Ettenhire.
At Nair, yeah.
So, but I just wanted to have that, up and on the list and all checked off here before we get too deep into it, so.
Have we determined whether you can move this? This is gonna be a smaller machine, is what I understand.
Yes, it is a smaller machine, and I think that we can, as long as our men are comfortable, we can move that with Mickey's unit, unless the
I thought they said that we couldn't.
machine's too long, you think it is?
I thought they said it was about 2.5 foot too long
Okay.
to fit on the, the bottom low
Well,
grade
I
portion
did
of the
speak to
trailer.
John, he said that's not a problem if he needed to tote it. He has a bigger unit than what we delivered last year's home with, and what we moved it around with. His new haul trailer is even bigger, so.
We can definitely try it and see if it'll fit, but if it won't, I would be prepared to spend the money to hire him to
It
move it.
can't ride up on that fender, I don't guess, can it? It's,
Will they rent us a trailer to go along with it so we can haul it?
Mark, I don't think they do that, but I can certainly ask.
John, it works, and he has a trailer, we'll do that, we rent John's trailer.
And it's
Yeah.
not a great expense to.
No, it's
have
not a
him
great
do it.
expense, it's price fair.
Well, yeah, the price you had said before, we'd be money ahead to have him haul it anyway. I don't
Yeah.
think we could haul it any cheaper.
Well, and he's an
licensed, he's
experienced hand,
insured, yeah,
he's
all
very
that.
diligent with moving equipment, so that goes a long way.
Insurance, I would say, would be the biggest thing,
Sure,
because that machine's
yeah,
not something that the county would want to pay for.
right.
No.
Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
Get the pleasure of speaking to Boy Scouts tonight. They're working on, their troop, his group is working on their citizenship badge, so I want to do that very well in government. Do that this evening at 6 o'clock. And then tomorrow at 4 is going to be a follow-up from the Office Corps Administration on this order and stuff that they're going to go over with us, the things that in a little more detail. And all judges are invited to be in on that. And if they fill up too soon, although I didn't have trouble getting registered this morning, they will have it available to be downloaded on the video. So that opportunity stays out there. Wednesday is the City County Hospital Board for us, and then Friday, Mr. Beecham is the Public Health District Board. anything else you may want.
To your knowledge, Judge, right now, are most of the vaccination sites open to everyone? Are
Well,
you?
all vaccination sites are open to everyone that's registered. They've tried to have, they're working on the site that's gonna be New Jerusalem Church, because the people felt disenfranchised, and they thought that would be a place they felt okay to go. And then I was in on a conversation, email conversation this morning with Dr. Barbosa, and looking for something maybe to draw in more Hispanic registrants to get their shots. There's some reluctance there. There was some concern about transportation, but all those people they're talking about, to get to the grocery store, I'm not sure transportation is as big an issue as sometimes it's laid out to be. But we want to make sure everyone has a chance to get the shots. Get that done. It's just getting the vaccine here. Texas is supposed to receive over 1 million this week, according to the government statement. The governor's statement is today. That's all I have. Anything else? Okay. We'll meet again this Friday at 10. We're adjourned at 11.